free time.
All right, guys. So today our thing is kind of like a what is kind of thing at first, right? Then it's the whole Britney thing later, right? So
Okay.
continue. Okay. So I have these conversations with people, and it just seems like a lot of times when you have uh I guess people take words that they don't like or things that they don't like, and they'll say, this thing that I don't like is also this other thing that I don't like. And they'll have nothing to do with each other. So, like everything is whatever I don't like, it's socialism, you know? And, so I was, one night I was like, you know what, let me just type in like, interracial marriage is communism and see if something pops up. And the first thing that pops up is race mixing is communism. And I was just like, wow, they were stupid back then too. So,
Oh no, they were
so
stupider. We have more
stupider. Right? So I decided, hey, why don't we just see what we know? Because I purposely did not look anything up. So I'm probably wrong about some of the things that I think because we just over time, we may have those definitions down at one time, and then we don't, right? And I didn't want this to be a political thing. So after that, what I'm going to ask you about are things about other countries, right? Not about the U.S. This is far, far from the U.S. So, well, I guess it could lead back to the U.S. I guess on some things, but hopefully it doesn't. So, because I'm thinking in most cases we're in the middle somewhere, so we won't even pop up, which is both good and bad. So, um, what I wanted to do is while we're having our discussion, or I want everyone to kind of jot down some words or phrases that you really just hate, right? It just ticks you off, or what makes you go when someone says that, right? So just throughout the show, just mark them down. At first, I was going to say, "Oh, write down 10," but then I was thinking to myself, I can't really think of 10, or maybe I will by the end of the show. All right. So uh, I do have a bunch of words that I think people just kind of get confused with or whatever. And the first word is, of course, socialism. That's what got me on this whole thing, right? So I want you to kind of just write down what your definition. Don't look it up. You guys already know what my definition is because we've already mentioned it, right? Uh, the next is communism. And as a matter of fact, I'll just.
Are these words that we don't like, or these are words that we think
No,
are kind of
these are
like?
these are words. I'm just asking you to define these words. That's
Oh,
it.
okay.
So just write what you think the definition is, right? And what I was thinking is that we'll each say what we think our definition is, what we think the definition is, and then later on, after the show, we'll look these things up and see if we're right, right? And we'll have a discussion about it. Okay, the next word is authoritarianism.
It's like being in school.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm on communism.
Do we not have to spell it right, do we?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, this isn't a spelling. Who cares about that? I mean, the main thing is your idea.
Socialists and the damn communists. That's who.
All right, the next is totalitarianism. And ran out of power. All right. One that we should all know, democracy, but I know we don't. I'm sure my definition is probably all wrong.
Are we writing down we're writing down definitions too at the same time, correct?
Right. I mean, just during the show, write down the definitions of what you think they are.
Cool.
All right. Nationalism.
Right, slow down.
Oh, sorry.
I guess are not that fast. You made me misspell dictator. Dictator.
It's a whole other thing.
Okay, socialism, communism. Was it authoritarianism?
Yep.
And then totalitarianism.
Let me get up the same level that you guys are.
Authoritarianism. And what was the fifth one?
Hold
Does somebody have
on. Let's see. Nationalism.
nationalism? All right.
All right. And democracy.
Democracy.
We just. Oh, okay. I thought we had. Okay.
Okay, sorry. So I probably got confused. So we got let's see, socialism, communism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, nationalism, capitalism, democracy.
Oh, I didn't do capitalism. Democracy.
What does this have to do with Britney Spears?
Oh, nothing. I was just, you should just lighten it up, is talk about something else.
Okay. So we're going to still do Britney Spears.
Yes, sir. Okay, and then after this, I have 4 more questions. 4 questions. Right? All right. Is everybody has everybody gotten their stuff written down?
Pretty much.
I don't have all the definitions, but I've got the words.
Cool. But you've got them circling around in your head. All right.
7 words.
Right, 7 words.
Okay, I got you.
Oh,
caught up.
wait. What's the set? I have communism, socialism,
So it's
authoritarianism.
socialism, communism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, nationalism, capitalism, democracy.
That's what. Okay, that was the one I was missing.
All right,
Wait. What was the last one?
democracy.
Oh, okay.
So you should have 7.
Okay.
I always wanted to start a sports franchise in Akron, Ohio, and I was going to call them the Akron-isms.
Did it?
All right. Let's see. Nationalism.
All right, and I've got a banger headache, man.
Oh man, is Jack okay? Like, what's up? He's feeling sick. Is that the problem? He's not like getting a new kidney or something, is he?
I don't know. He didn't respond. I tried to call him.
Did he get shot by a mortar by any chance?
Man,
Mm.
I mean, can you imagine? And from 10 feet, it probably blew his heart up, man.
Well, you
Probably.
guys keep saying chest trauma, but the article that Tom sent said that he hit his head.
Yeah, but that was discounted, like most news stories.
No, that was
Once
in
someone actually reported it. Yeah, no, he had like
the very
severe
next
chest trauma.
paragraph said that it was just trauma.
Yeah.
Why would they have the fake news and the real news in the same article?
Because he probably hit his head.
He probably
and
hit
when
his
he's being
head.
carried off, they probably thought,
And
he hit his head.
people
So-
saw it and they report. And dude, you could have anything happen and 10 people watching it, and you're gonna get 10 different stories.
Now, if he had had COVID at the same time,
Then he would have died of COVID.
He died of
Right.
COVID.
At least yes. Man, I need a haircut, man. What is that going on?
Wait a minute.
I think the problem was that he was a goalie, right? So
Yeah,
anybody
you
else
think you would have just caught it and
get
deflected it.
right. No, he didn't let it go past because he's a goalie.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had to
He's
stop
good.
everything. He like jumped in.
Okay. Okay. This is gonna get a bunch of hate now.
Dude, he was only 24. He's only 20.
Yeah.
There's no goalie hate. Okay.
It's
What's next?
freak
Okay.
accident. Okay.
So I have 4 questions, and these are about like other countries, right? Besides ours. But I guess we could be included in this. First question is, what's the least corrupt country? Just off the,
Corrupt.
what do you think is the least corrupt country?
And that's hard how you define corruption too, right?
Right? Yeah. There are different types of corruption.
What are the different types of corruption?
Right.
Bribery is usually what I think of.
Okay.
Nepotism, I guess. Least corrupt.
All right. And followed up with, what's the most corrupt country?
See, now that can come across as prejudice. So if we,
Let's say
what, you
Poland.
hate them?
Are you going to say Poland?
Oh no. They're far from the most corrupt.
They're up there. They're on the list.
No.
Have you ever been in a traffic accident in Poland? You got to pay somebody.
There is an argument that like
Here we
their
go.
entire government died in a plane crash, so perhaps they are a little. I may have to. Oh my God, where'd Mike's head go?
How'd you do that? That was awesome. Do that again.
Disaster.
Okay, wait. Most corrupt country. Gosh.
And this is, it's so like I have no idea. It's just my
It is.
impression, right?
Yeah.
There's some I may know, but
Like, come on. Okay, we're Americans, first of all. So I think most of us pretty much don't know anything about most other countries. So, about the
It's
politics, how
fair.
things work.
yeah.
So,
we are like the king of the navel gazers, right? Like we're all into ourselves.
Not this group.
Not
So
this
is the
group.
best and the brightest right here.
right.
As good as it gets, man.
All right, what's the next one? I got like 3
Okay.
corrupt because man, I'm tough. That's tough.
Country with the happiest citizens.
Happy people.
Oh, I think I know this one.
I actually have the same one for this one and the first one.
Thought you were gonna say the most corrupt, and they're also happy.
Wow. Okay.
Um, gosh.
No, least corrupt and happiest.
Okay.
I think people. I don't think anybody will argue that it's a good guess, but we'll see. Right, next.
That's it. Those are the four. Oh, sorry.
There's
Country
3.
with the least happiest citizens. Sorry. Got ahead of myself.
Oh, least happiest?
Yeah.
And that's another one that's relative, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are all things that we can discuss and then research and actually have an idea of what's closer to true, right? So we can have our opinions about what they are, but I mean, even though things are subjective, if you interview people and they say, "Yeah, I'm pretty damn happy," overall, you know, you got to take it for what it is, So,
I'm gonna
I
take
mean,
a picture.
pissed off people are usually pretty happy to tell you about how pissed off they are.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a lot of people that may be in bad situations, but they're
Well,
cheerful and they're like happy, right?
right. Yeah, there are lots of people that are poor, don't have much,
Yeah.
and they're very happy.
And they're super grateful.
No.
So we're going to be writing words and phrases that bother us as well.
Right. During the show, words and phrases that bother you, and it only has to be one or two or whatever. Because at first I was going to say 10 or something like that, but then I was thinking to myself,
What about acronyms?
sure, it could be anything,
There's
anything
several
that's
of
words,
those that I hate
letters.
right
Sure,
now.
sure.
All right, so what is?
Oh, you know what? Why don't I throw in CRT?
Man, I hate it too.
As a phrase,
Critical race
Phrase
theory.
that bothers.
As a trigger.
It shouldn't bother you. I don't think it should bother anyone.
the word.
Yeah, the words. Well, the term critical race theory.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's I don't know why that wouldn't bother people. That's a bothersome term, I think.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, what would you call it?
I would call it something new to keep us all dancing around like.
But it's not.
Or a magnifying
But it's not new.
It's not new.
It's like
no, it's been
it's
around
like
since like
30.
the 50s, but
Yeah.
it's coming back. And the thing is we're never going to get past these thought processes if we keep bringing it back when it has been talked about for a while. I'm weary of everything right now with race, with politics, with wokeness. Everybody has got to have a label that they assign themselves to.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they can be part of a
Well, that's what we are. That's what thinking people do. I mean, if we were just
yeah, but the
like
problem is
animals,
the people that are
we wouldn't
using
have
it.
that.
Yeah, but the people that are using the term CRT and woke and Me Too and BLM and all these other things,
Hey, look, you're going down a list, so it's like, okay,
but no,
whatever I don't like,
no,
just
no, no.
vilify it, and
It's
then I'll
not that
have
I-
reasonable people. I'm
No,
not saying you, Zeus, but you can have reasonable people that aren't really deeply thinking about it. Like, okay, so
that's what I'm saying.
subject. So every time any subject is discussed, you just put a bad spin on it, so you just don't discuss it. That's a huge problem that I think that we have right now. Like,
What I'm saying.
you
what I'm
can
saying
just say,
is we
but
find,
also this is also a thing that I didn't want to get into.
well, no. But you're not letting me finish. What I'm trying to
Sure.
say is that everybody has to have a label because, like, inclusion. I used to like the concept of inclusion, but now inclusion is really just saying white people need to treat everybody better, or we're treating handicapped people worse. I'm sorry,
But I think
entity has a
inclusion
political stance to it now.
just means inclusion. That's it.
Yes,
That's-
but if you're talking about inclusion, you're saying that people aren't being inclusive by bringing it up and saying that it is what we need to do. You're saying that people haven't been doing it. I can walk in. Well, you're not letting me
So
finish.
addressing a problem. Go on.
It's not a problem. That's the thing. We can tweak things, yes, but inclusion is definitely part of our society now.
It's not a problem.
Really, drive in front of any supermarket and find one that doesn't have handicap parking. NAACP, is there a white American People's College Fund? No. I'm tired of and I'm not being like pro-white. I'm just saying that there's a vilification of people that are doing well, whether they be white or not. I'm just a little fed up. I have to watch everything I say, and I don't have malice, but I feel like if I say anything, I got to go, wait, did that sound right? It's a nerve-wracking place to be. It just is. And I mean, I love America, greatest country in the world, honestly. Not the happiest citizens and probably the most corrupt, but
I don't. Okay.
Okay, slow down, Zeus.
what I'm
Slow
saying is,
down.
well, no, but I said all these things, and I'm not saying that they're the problem. I'm saying that labeling things is the problem. I think we should just all around be kind.
What do you mean labeling things? That's what we do. We're humans. We label
But
everything.
Darcy,
Things
if I
need
could
I don't.
interject, I
Things
think
need to be categorized. That's
people,
They don't
Darcy,
need to. You just need to be kind. You need to treat people as you would be treated yourself. It's that simple.
but people are at the point, they use the label as a weapon to try and
Yes.
put somebody else down. Like with the, what do you call it, when you don't believe the world is going to end in 10 years because of the climate, you're a climate denier just because you don't think mankind will go extinct in 10 years. I mean,
oh no, I don't think we're going to go extinct. I think that's
but
there
you'll
are
be
people that
labeled as a
overreact.
climate, you'll get a label
But
for saying that.
there are also people that think that God's gonna there's God and it's gonna end everything, or have this big football game over the next 1,000
You'll
years
get
and he
labeled
raptures
as a
people.
sinner by those people.
But you're
You
getting
know.
into you're not getting into the concept of what Tom is saying. What we're talking about is we shouldn't be labeling. Yes, we do that. That's what we do. That doesn't make it right.
Right.
Pedophiles have sex with children. That's what they do. Is it right? No. The
But
point
is it right to call them a pedophile?
absolutely it is.
Okay, well, actually, it's a
That's a
pederast.
crime.
It's a pederast. So that's another thing with the definitions. Lots of people are pedophiles. They're basically people that don't act on it, right? But a pederast is a person that actually acts on it.
But again, you're getting caught up in definitions. What Tom and I are trying
because that's what we
the
should
exercise.
No,
do.
that's what you want to believe we do, but a lot of people don't. I don't walk around going, that's one of those type of people, and that's this type of person. I take people.
No, I'm not. I haven't said that. I haven't called anyone anything. I haven't labeled.
That's what we do, and we don't. I don't.
No, that's what. Because you have a brain, that's what you do. That's what you do.
I will say,
it's unavoidable.
The thing, I don't know if this is what Darcy's getting at, but something I feel strongly about is words absolutely mean something, and in our language, when Darcy, you were asked about like words and phrases that bother me. It's and nothing specific yet, but the kind of perversion of our language, like definitions get rewritten, things are said to mean things that they didn't mean yesterday, and there's definitely throughout history those who control the language control the people, right?
Yeah.
If you can control the language, you can control the thought, you can control people, and there's definitely a lot of loosey-goosey stuff going on with what words mean. So to Darcy's point, I think it's critically important to know what definitions are, because that's kind of the gears, right, of conversation. If we can't agree on terms, how are we supposed to have conversations about things? I mean, if we don't agree on like what democracy means, or if we don't agree on what CRT is, or whatever it is, if we can't agree on what things are, we can't even have a conversation about it. So I agree with Darcy on that.
I mean, hell, even the word pervert, the base of the word perversion that you just used, 150 years ago, it had a totally different meaning. It just meant to change something.
It still means
so well, but that's not how it's used today. When someone says pervert, it means it's a mal change, a bad change.
And it implies a relativeness to something else and what people compare it to. So if something is perverted, it's a relative term. It's perverted in relation to X, right? So what is X? You know, what is it?
Well, X is so to me, the way I understand the word, the way it's always it's a net pervert is negative. You know,
it's a negative connotation.
How ironic that we're talking about perverts right now.
And here comes word association.
Wow. Speak of the devil and he shall.
Wow. Hey guys, what are we talking about?
Shazam!
We were just talking about you.
I just got done making a mess in the back room. Everyone's still getting out. So there's some animals back there. And what's the topic today?
Britney Spears. And auto repair.
Right, and auto repair.
And Inigo Montoya. I do not think you know what that word means.
But no, yeah, I mean, I think it's refreshing to have a conversation about definitions. It's crucial because the thing is, if you can change the definition of something, and then you can label someone that thing, right? Then you can control how that person is perceived. You know,
yes. I mean, I got a great example of this. I'm going to steal from Jason's story, but Jason had this thing that he did while he was in Japan, and this is hilarious. He would tell all his students, because he taught English to Japanese kids, and he would tell them that the word avalanche meant that was really cool. So they would be walking around going, "That is so avalanche."
Right back. Sorry.
And we had a couple of those. I don't remember what all of them are now. Oh, there was another expression. We'll see what you do when the bull's at your door.
when the pole's at your door.
The bull.
And did you make that face after you said it? Like,
you have to. It's a requirement.
I was telling Mike yesterday on the phone that we should, if we really want to get popular, what we need to do is come up with some kind of conspiracy that people will really latch onto. Just start it. Like, what was I was saying to you, Mike? I forget.
I can't.
An
example.
Here's mine. I think we should start this and just see if we can get it to go. We say that that Dirty Dancing was actually written by horribly racist people, and that all the people, Patrick Swayze, anybody that lived down in the houses was of a certain race, but they had to change it to keep it politically correct. But the writer was actually a horrible racist. And just go with that.
You could go
and see if people start going, yeah, did you hear about Dirty Dancing? There's probably something better, like COVID's caused by doorknobs.
I mean, not to jump back to last week's topic of comedians, but Mark Maron, who I like and don't like, but he had a great comment in one of his stand-up routines where he said, 90% of what we talk about when we're talking to other people, like about things that we know, it's like we don't know it, like we didn't discover it. It's like, yeah, like this guy said it, and now I'm telling you, like I know it. I mean, that's like 90% of human discourse, right?
It sounds smart.
I heard some guy say it, whatever.
It's kind of like all of society, like the entire zeitgeist is just based on like the old fire brigade theory of you got the bucket and it's full of water at the beginning, and by the time you get to the fire, there's like a couple drops left, except that's everybody talking.
Speaking, and not to jump in, but I got to mention it because I just thought of this and I read this thing. Speaking of fire brigades, how horrible that thing in Surfside Beach was with the building collapsing and all. But what badasses, like the crew that had to demo the rest of the building, like they were given a place where that building had to fall outside the existing pile. And they came in there and in like 20 hours set all the charges and brought that thing down right in the footprint that they were supposed to. I mean, that is freaking amazing.
Not unlike the second tower on 9/11, the way they demolished that one.
I'm just saying, this wasn't something they had weeks to plan for. These guys went in there, they did their. I mean, those guys deserve an attaboy. That's for sure.
Those guys on 9/11 did it in like 20 minutes, maybe. It's nice. I mean,
Yeah, a little different. Anyway.
So we're talking about definitions and words. Apparently, I guess we're not talking
Britney
about
Spears.
Britney Spears.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting. I'm gonna get
dying for the
whiplash
Britney
going back
Spears.
yeah.
I got a picture
All
of
right.
everything.
Okay, so let's see. I guess did everyone write it on a piece of paper? I guess did everyone write it down on a piece of paper? All right. Show what your definition for socialism.
Why don't we just say it?
Okay. All right. Just say it.
One of us will say it, and if everybody agrees, good.
Right, so I say my definition is when the government controls the means of production.
No,
It's a little different.
I think
yes
it's
and no.
everything is
Okay.
the prime definition of socialism, as far as my understanding, is everything is owned by everyone. That you can't have the government in charge, because then everything is not owned by everyone. So
It's
that's the
the means of production are collectively held.
yeah.
It's not by the government, it's by the people.
The people are
But the government is the people.
It's not that simple. Like, this is the problem with socialism. Socialism is supposed to be what's the perfect world? Utopian. It's supposed to be everybody is equal, nothing is different, but somebody's got to monitor that, and then that person,
No, I don't think. I think you're getting outside of what actual is. I think you're starting to talk about communism.
no,
So-
communism is everybody getting paid based on their abilities and their needs.
Well, here's the main.
So some people may get more, some people may get less, based on what they need and what their skills are. That's communism.
The main difference, as far as my understanding, is socialism is means of production are collectively held. In communism, there is this added element, right, of class that's interjected into that. So you basically have the government owns everything, but
Right, the property, everything.
But how things are distributed is determined by class or whatever sort of striations those who in charge
abilities and needs.
Whereas pure socialism is, it doesn't matter if you have 3 heads, you're 6 feet tall, you got 1 leg, whatever race, it doesn't matter. Everyone shares collectively. Whereas communism adds a class element into how things are distributed. That's my understanding.
That's pretty close to what I'm going with. Yeah. Jason?
Classically, I would agree with Darcy on the definition. And then I think it sort of evolved into what Mike was saying. And then as it sort of percolated through the population and became more generally referred to, it sort of morphed into what Zeus was saying. And now if you ask somebody in the 20s, they're going to say it has something to do with social agenda. Someone who's younger might not even equate it with anything economic at all.
And so that's another thing. When we get into when we talk communism and we talk socialism and all these other ones, we tend to focus on the thought process for the people, and we forget that a lot of it has to do with economy and the environment and all these other things that aren't just how the people view it. Does that make sense?
Well, socialism is a type of economy.
Yeah,
What?
It's an economic.
So
it's not a political system; it's an economic system.
Fair enough.
There is an academic. I'm trying to think of his name, but he is a avowed socialist. And I saw a debate with him, and he spent the first 5 minutes basically crying about how everyone bashes on socialism for various reasons, for being what it is in that classical definition that Darcy gave. And then he suddenly started arguing for a version of socialism completely different from that, which is more in the collective ownership. And he had it in the form of employees. So the employees would have to buy the ownership in their own companies, but the means to accomplish that would be getting loans from the government.
Huh. Sort of a neo-socialism of sorts. I don't know. Honestly, I think for what it's worth, I like the idea of you work hard, you get more. You don't work hard, you better start working harder. You're never going to get more. You know, you give out into the universe and you get something back for it.
But
I don't like things just arbitrarily being given away. I don't mind helping those less fortunate. Obviously, that's kind, but we don't improve, we don't evolve if we don't try to achieve higher station. Really?
Yeah. I think that's a race. That's like a race to the bottom, though.
Huh?
I do. I think that's a race to the bottom. So I feel that there are many people that have tons of potential that just never gets realized because there's so much just trying to make it through to the next day. So I think it's totally wasted. I would say there are probably a ton of people that if they were introduced to like learning about semiconductors, they'd be great at it. They could build those factories right up, right? You know, and produce what we need. And it wouldn't have to be, because right now we have a system where if you're wealthy, you know, you don't create wealthy kids, but your kids get to take advantage of that wealth that you generated, right? So they get to go to the better schools, and those are not necessarily the best. Many times the best, it's spread all, the smartest, the brightest people, it's usually all around.
Well, so here's the thing, though. You use the term potential, and I think that's key to what I'm getting at. Who do you? Let me ask you this, Darcy, or any of you, except Jason, because Jason will probably already have the answer because he's smart. Who would you say in the life cycle has the most potential, and why?
In the life cycle, what do you mean?
In our life cycle, as a person, at what point in your life cycle do you have the most potential? Because that word gets used poorly, I think, a lot of times.
Here's the thing. I mean, look, we're getting into
there's a point to what I'm asking.
Well,
so here, I'll answer.
Okay.
Okay, so a child has the most potential, and why is because they've done the least. Potential is how much you can achieve.
Can do.
Right. So you say all these people have all these different potential, Darcy, but it really comes down to whoever's done the least has the most potential. It's how they use that potential.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. So that you could have a 20-year-old guy that's full of possible ideas, but he can't express them or do anything about them because he's got a 9-to-5 that's barely paying him enough to just live. So he can't do it. Now there are extraordinary people like a Tesla or they can do those things, and I applaud those people for being able to have what I consider a type of menial job where you feel like you're going nowhere, but able to do still think about these incredible things. But I think most people can't do that.
But see that I guess go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying to use like the Elon Musks and the Bezoses and all those guys. You kind of have to take them out of it because that's such an extreme.
No, when I say Tesla, I meant actual Tesla.
Nickel.
Not the company.
The actual guy.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
For how this, I think, affects most people, and again, this is just a philosophical, belief. for one, I don't believe that if everyone's given the same opportunity that they will achieve the same. I do believe that there are people that are, for whatever reason, not necessarily intelligence, not necessarily any one thing. It could just be drive. I mean, I know people that or just have hustle.
And I
And
wasn't saying that either.
No, I'm not saying you were, but I'm just saying there is regardless of what opportunity you're given, there are certain people who will push everything, will push things and achieve a lot given what their situation is. And there's other people who are born into great wealth and great opportunity who squander it. They have no idea what to do with it. And so, the world is unfair. I mean, that's the first thing we have to acknowledge. I mean, if you are approaching things with the perspective of that all things must be just and pure as the driven snow,
no,
you're going to be sad.
No,
I mean, that's
what
not
I want
the way the world
is as a country, I want us to win. And we
Mm-hmm.
won't win if we have what we currently have, which is it's kind of this kind of thing. I don't think we can win that way. I think we're going to get crushed by countries like China, for instance. European countries, which have this. They have these models for education for how high you can go based off of how well you do. They give you a chance. And if you screw it up, well, you don't keep on getting those chances over and over again. But they create a situation where at least you get a chance to go to higher learning. So I think our K through 12 model is bad. I mean, it was good for when it was good. Now it's no longer good because now it's not really a K through 12 kind of life you need. You need a K through almost PhD. Or something here, like a master's at least.
Well, and to what
and most people can't afford that.
Hey, Darcy, real quick, do you think that's? Because I don't disagree with that. Do you think that's because there's more that children need to know, or do you think that what we're focusing on with K through 12 is not? Like, we need to focus on things that are important and take the focus off things that we're dealing with K through 12 that's not important.
That can be both.
Well,
that could be both. Because for I see these memes, and I hate to be meme led, but some memes are pretty good. Like,
for a reason.
Why don't I know how to get out of how to do my taxes by the time I'm a senior in high school? Why don't I know how to go to a job interview? Why don't I know? I mean, there are all these things that they should be ingrained in us by the time we're ready to go out the door. So
here's the thing, if I may. I get them mixed up, so don't hold me to this, but there's Piaget and Erik Erikson. They're two like psychologists, and there's a lot of our schooling throughout the world is based on one or the other. One goes from the aspect of, if you're really good at science, they put you down a science path. And then I can't remember whose is whose, but the other ones was more like what we're doing, where jack of all trades, master of none, and then you evolve into what you want to do. So, I mean, there's something to be said for the idea of, if somebody's really strong with math, like my son is like, he crushes it in math. He's doing stuff that I can't do now, and he's going to be 12 in a few days. So why not put him down down that math pathway, science, physics, things like that. My other son likes to run through things and break them, so he'll probably be a football player. But the point being is, yes, there is something to be said for looking at people's ability, and maybe the first 6 grades is where you kind of I don't like standardized tests, but you kind of get an idea, a battery of different tests to kind of get a feel for where these kids might
But
go.
I think there's a danger to that.
Yeah,
And
like a
that's
caste
something
system. Yeah.
you see that a lot in socialism and communist countries historically, where they'd kind of funnel you into whatever you're good at, and that's the job, and you'd be stuck in that job. You'd
Yeah,
be
but the
locked
fact of the
in
matter is they're doing
for
it.
your life,
Europe does it right now, and they're successful. They
and
they
that's
have
not
very good
good.
schools. And
Yeah, but I wouldn't
because-
I wouldn't want to if someone's calling it something else. I wouldn't want to. I don't think we should have a system where you've got to be, and that comes back to when something you don't like.
Oh,
It's
no, I'm not
because
saying make them do it. I'm saying you can point them at, hey, you're really good at this. Do you want to continue down this, or find some
right.
hybrid of
It should be it definitely be some kind of choice.
But
I remember. I
obviously,
mean, we all took those aptitude
Yes, I was
tests when
just
we were
thinking of
kids,
the
right?
test. Yeah.
And
Yeah, but-
everything constantly came up. Oh, you're more like you're probably going to be an engineer, or it looks like you probably want to be an engineer, and it just and so that's I was a network engineer, an email engineer,
But
so I've always.
I'm not saying make
Yeah.
people do this. I'm saying encourage them to go down to accentuate their strengths. I'm not saying if they're really good at math, they have to go that way. It's just that you could say, we could provide scholarships if your math scores are off the charts. You might get a better scholarship going to a math program, but you could always go into sports, or English, because that's your thing. That's where potential. That's where, when we're talking definitions, I think potential is used wrong. If you want to say possibility, it's different. Potential just means shit you haven't done yet, or may not do. Ability or drive, those are kind of, I think, more where what I was getting from what you said, Darcy, is that you have these people that have ability, but they may even have drive, but they're stopped for one reason or another.
Right.
But if you really have drive, nothing's going to stop you, man. Look, dude,
No, that's just
4
not
years
true.
old. I did nothing. I was just a jerk off for the first 30 years of my life, and then I got my shit together. I got driven to do better. Now I've got 2 degrees, I own a home, a couple cars, 2 kids. I've done all these things, and I'm not even doing as good as other people, but I achieved those things because I started meeting my potential, and I still haven't finished.
You valued it.
Yeah,
Right,
so
but
potential is just, it's a very broadly used word that I don't think is used properly. I just don't think it's used properly.
I don't know if anyone looked at the video that I sent yesterday or a couple of days ago, but it was like about how success, most of the time it's a lot of luck, because everyone's doing the same, everyone's got the same drive, but everyone's trying. No one's out there is like, hey, I want to be a failure. I don't want to, There's always there are people out there that are, let's say if there's a, like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, his grandfather, his job was screwing on those toothpaste tops. He's probably trying to be the best toothpaste top screwer ever, but he's not going to get anywhere with that. He's just not. He thinks maybe he can move up to management one day, but it just never happens because it just doesn't. And I think there are a lot of people that are in those kind of situations.
I disagree with you, Darcy, because you're saying that this sort of funneling people into the jobs is the way we should go. But there's got to be the flexibility. And that's what you have when you have capitalism, free markets. People can do what, like Zeus was just saying, he was going the wrong direction for 30 years and not.
I'm not saying we shouldn't have capitalism.
And then he's allowed to just
I'm a
jump to a
capitalist.
different career. Okay, I know, but or take a guy like Einstein. He's like screwing the toothpaste lid, sort of, because he's just sitting there working at, what was he doing? Like a clerk. He was working as a clerk all the time, a patent clerk. But on the side, he's got all these ideas and things that just never came to fruition until he was able to kind of break free.
Well, also, look, part of it too is there are people that are amazingly talented at things that the market doesn't want, right? So I have known people in my life that were the best that I've ever known at something that had no monetary, treads to it. So
There's no aptitude test that would have told Steve Jobs that he should be designing handheld smartphones.
right.
Nobody had that wouldn't
And
have
you know what?
survived.
His aptitude,
Right.
his real aptitude, and Woz, I love Woz, man. Woz is like that pair, those two guys, Wozniak. Woz says the thing that Jobs had was he just would not quit. He had a no quit. He hustled,
And that's
he
what you hear about all these people.
he believed in stuff more than was rational. Even Woz would be like, he believed in this stuff so much, even more than what Woz did. And that's what took him, over. Look, I know for a fact that I met the best projectionist on, at least on the East Coast, if not in the entire world, like 20 years ago. But no one's going to see movies in movie theaters. Projection was going out. Everything's going digital. The guy did not make a lot of money because he was awesome at something that no one gave a shit about. So it's not about excellence. It's about being in the right place at the right time. And to Darcy's point, luck is obviously a big part of it. But in my personal experience, people that I know who are successful, if you work hard, you tend to be more lucky.
Well, is it luck? I don't think, and also a huge thing. We're talking like our level of success is measured by those around us. I personally think that I'm doing okay. Am
right.
I at the peak of my success? No, but I'm successful in the things that I try to achieve. But I hate pride's another word I'm getting real tired of too. But I'm proud of where I've gotten so far. I've got more to do. Yeah, no. Hold on, let me write that down. But I got more to do. But does that mean I'm unsuccessful? No, it just means that I'm not at the peak of my success. Success is another one. It so much is perspective. Tom can think I'm not successful all day long because he has more material things than me, and I'm just throwing out randomly. But I feel successful because this is not the path I was heading down 15 years ago. I was not going to be anything like this. Now I help people. I give back. I don't just, this is a huge thing for me. I get a little tired. This is where this whole inclusive thing gets to me. I give out and I try not to take more than I give out. Just into the universe, like opening even things as simple as opening a door for someone or buying their coffee or just taking the time to sit and listen to somebody. Those things for me are really important. That's what we should be doing. But then there's these other people, and I find that most of them are the people that are screaming inclusiveness. They're like, give, I deserve, I'm entitled to, but they don't want to try and meet in the middle and be part of whatever that thing that they're trying to be included in. They just want to be arbitrarily accepted into whatever group they're trying to get into. It doesn't have to be anything based on race or government or anything like that, but we all want to be included, but we can't be angry if we're not. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's why I get tired of it.
You can't, if you're looking for validation from things outside yourself, you're gonna be sad.
Exactly.
Like you have to find some level of self-worth and humility, or if you're basing your happiness on what other people think of you, I mean that's a loser's game.
Yeah, like look, Kate Spade, she was at the top of her game, millionaire, hundreds of millions probably with the handbags, I guess, designer, She killed herself.
Yeah, she was suffering from depression.
Yeah, but the
You know.
point is that nothing was going to make her happy. She was just she never felt included. But as to Mike's point,
Yeah, but that's
if you
that's and this goes. It's funny how things can branch off into other things.
I love it.
I like the way we look at like a brain. Somehow that's not physical. Oh, that's mental. So we don't include that. It's a so to me, Kate Spade's situation, it's like having a broken leg where you're not treating it, so
Yeah.
you don't go by someone with a broken leg and go,
Man,
oh,
what's up with that guy?
just get up, go on and
Just
get about
walk.
yourself.
Why can't
Right.
you walk?
Yeah, but dude,
So
she was massively successful. It's not
Yeah,
like
that's-
she was
the thing is-
struggling all the time.
The thing is,
It's-
when you're dealing with depression, it's things people can't see, and it's hard to understand. And if you have dealt with depression yourself or other people that are depressed, it's irrational. And when you and his humans, especially as, I mean, this is a total stereotype, but especially with guys, we try to make everything, rationalize everything. Well, you can't rationalize it.
I
It
would
doesn't
say,
make
Darcy,
sense.
you don't want to, I mean, you don't know what needs to be fixed all the time. You can't look at a person that's bipolar and say, well, we got to fix that. Because those are some of the most successful creative people are the ones that have those swings. And that's when they go on that upswing, they're just manic and
amazing.
they're doing all kinds of things. So you don't want to take that out of that person. So sometimes they have faults, but they're faults that kind of help them achieve things.
So when I deal with patients, because I mean this is what I do. I always like a few key things I always do. There's a theory, it's called Maslow's theory. It's a little complicated. I won't get too far into it, but it's basically like the food triangle, but you start at the bottom, and the couple of things at the bottom are like security, food,
Hierarchy of needs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I always make sure, like, as soon as a patient gets admitted on the unit, I'm like, you're safe. I always joke, look at me, nobody's getting past me. I got your back, you're going to be okay. And then give them some snacks, get them comfortable. Oddly enough, the same thing they do in like an interrogation. They always bring in like a Coke and a candy bar because it gets them comfortable. They're thank God I got sustenance. But more to the point, is the validation. Is I do try and validate them. They shouldn't be looking, again, it's another one of those perspective things. You shouldn't be looking for validation, but people should provide it to you. It should come externally, but you should already feel valid in your own right. And that's where the depression and all that gets a little crazy. But back to the Kate Spade, I really feel like I get what you're saying, that was mental health. I'm sure if we went down a list of people, we could find people that they weren't diagnosed with any of these things. They had it all by an external perspective, and still ended their lives, for whatever reason. With her, I mean, I get it, but she was also immensely successful, and she must have, on some degree, pushed it off. The depression. Oh, I'll address this later, until it got too much. Because you can't have the level of success she had without having some survival instinct, coping skills, and that's the thing. Tom was saying about somebody's bipolar and fixing it. You're never going to fix it. It's in the brain. I mean, maybe 100 years from now we'll have some gene therapy or something, but we don't, in my line of work, you don't teach cure so much as cope. How to survive with it, how to take it on, wear it like armor, own it. That's where you get your artist and all this. It's not from fixing it, it's from adapting to it. They have a broader spectrum of of experiences and outlook than you or I or Jason or Darcy or Mike. I mean, it's just a way of looking at it. You're never going to get rid of it. Cancer you get rid of, but even that comes back, you know. But mental health.
Well, in any society, you have, in order to function in it, scholastically, in a job, in a relationship, in a community, in your neighborhood, you whatever culture you're in, there's a set of rules. Well, human beings are very diverse, and there's all kinds of different people. So you're always going to have people that don't necessarily fit into that paradigm, and we label those people crazy, right? We say those people are dysfunction, or they're dysfunctional, or they have some sort of like mental problems or whatever, but they don't necessarily act in the systems that we've set up in our culture. They're not lesser people. They're just
Different.
There's
different.
probably people that, fit right in, apparently fit right in, like some of these serial killers. And later you find out that they're just, batshit serial killers.
Right.
But the whole time they were
That's
like,
a whole different thing.
they were
Right.
behaving and they were doing everything. They were fitting right in. They were going to work every day. And
He was
You
such a
know.
nice boy. I mean, he lived
Right,
next
right,
door to me
right. It's
for
always
years.
right.
and then the crazy person that doesn't fit in, they might be, they'll, be the next Van Gogh or Picasso.
I mean, that's really
Not the ear thing.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about society,
That's
right?
crazy to
It's
cut
like,
your ear off.
how do you we're imperfect. If you're looking for perfection, you're not going to find it.
Well, no, I'm not looking for that. What? Okay, so like the way Jason, he understands. And I mean Zeus, because I used to call Zeus Jason when we were kids, so I keep on saying that. So he understands that when that patient comes there, they need that base, right? So they don't have to worry as much about food and validation and all those things. So what about regular people?
Mhm.
Imagine if
And
our
maybe
country was set up so it not to make you wealthy, not to make you so because I think for the most part, most people, if they have those basic things taken care of, they become better people. Like they want to do things. I think for the most part, I think we worry too much about the 3 to 5% that will abuse it. And I think we
Absolutely.
get so narrowed down on that, and we miss the forest for the trees. And that's why I think overall, when someone goes to look to see, how did things get all screwed up, and how, because I really think China, they're basically perfecting, and some of the stuff is just not good, and that's all I'll say about it. But I think we are setting ourselves up to show that we can't compete. This
With
the
China.
system with countries like a China. We can't compete.
I think, yeah, I think that's a valid point. It's fraught. It's a fraught thing, right? So, I mean, you get into what is valued in our education system, and I would suggest that we are not valuing things that we should be, and we are placing increased value on things that have no real merit in the marketplace of what you're talking about. In countries like China, they put value on things that are directly connected to the marketplace, period.
Utilitarianism, very utilitarian.
Right. They're not interested in like the feels, right? Or like or anything else, right? It's all very practical.
They're essentially like the Matrix. Like they look at their populace, and I'm talking about the government. I'm not talking about Chinese people, but the government looks at them like they're batteries. Like, let's expend as much as we can. Like, very much like the Matrix. It might have even been kind of a symbolism of that kind of thought. And
I had back in 1989, I was a junior in high school, and our school had an exchange program with students in Lithuania, which at the time was still behind the Iron Curtain. And so they sent over like 20 students, and one of them we hosted, and then our school sent over like 20 students to them afterwards. And the student that I hosted, his name was Arturus, and he was he was learning to be a physicist, and it's because his parents were both physicists as well. Like, that's how it was decided. And I was like, well, I guess that makes sense. At the time I was like, well, okay, his parents are in it. He may have an aptitude for it. But then I found out, like, this other kid that I befriended, he was an artist, and his parents were artists. So they're like deciding that this person's going to be an artist based on the fact that his parents were, and all of the students were like that. So if you were a chemist or a carpenter, like, you were whatever and both of their parents were the same thing, because this is multi-generations of, look, we need X number of this, we need X number of that, and you were basically told what you were going to do. So I've been in touch with, and last time I was in touch with him was like 10 years ago, but he ended up being like a real estate mogul. This guy like came back, like, he came to the United States, he bought a ton of Levi's jeans and radios and shipped them back. And then he got into real estate, and he's like this like mega real estate dude in Lithuania.
Good for him.
He's not a physicist. But
Right.
I guess my point is, it works if it depends on what level you want to look at it. If you're looking at it as a collective, as a nation, it's like, okay, we need certain number of farmers, we need certain number of these guys and truck drivers, and if you're a bureaucrat and you're trying to figure out how to do it, okay, well, let's make these people do that. It makes sense. I get it. But on the individual level, that's where it breaks down. And it works until people start looking up over the wall and seeing how things are elsewhere. And they're like, I don't need to be the physicist. I can be the real estate mogul guy. And that's where things start breaking down for those systems. And why, you look at like the United States, and it's always intrigued me, because I'm not well traveled. I haven't been all over the world. I don't have perspective on a lot of other countries and things like that. But it's always intrigued me that people keep wanting to come here, right? Like, there's something about this country that people from other countries who are in dire straits or going through things that aren't so great, and they're like, that I want to go there. Like, that is where I can go, and I can become what is best in me,
But mostly what I see of people that want to come here, they're from what people would consider shithole countries. I don't see.
Darcy.
I don't see.
Really, that's a little offensive.
I'm shocked.
I don't think of people like in Sweden like, I gotta come to America, to the US. And sorry, I don't mean to say America, I mean the US.
But people who don't have opportunity where they are, they look to for good or bad, whatever. I'm just saying, people look to this country as a place to come where they can better themselves, and that's been the story of America. I mean, that's the story of America.
And when I say that, I meant it as like not necessarily like a joke, but just so people understand, And I don't think any country is a shithole country. Every country has what I think are most, even the worst countries, what I think are the pretty bad countries, have very rich histories, amazing people. They get through, I mean, just awful times, and are still treated awfully, even by the whole world. Like, when you think of a country like, oh man, what's the other side of Dominican Republic. Why can I think of the name?
Haiti.
Haiti. You know, having to
And
pay back,
yet people
having
go
to
there
pay
all the
back
time for
free.
vacation.
Listen,
Having
man,
to pay-
as far as the shithole country thing, okay, and I'm not picking on Trinidad, but I have a friend who's from Trinidad, and 20 years
On
ago,
Tobago.
he would go back to visit his family, and he would be like, okay, I'm coming back. I'm going to spend a month here, blah, blah, blah. And he would land at the airport, and he would be like going to his house, and he was robbed by people with guns like 3 times. And it was because his family was like, hey, this guy, he's coming home, and he was coming from America, and they knew he would have money, right? So now when he still goes to see his mom once in a while, but he doesn't even tell her. He just appears because he doesn't want to get robbed going. This is a guy I've known for years. He just has to appear and not tell anyone he's coming. So there are shithole countries where it's not cool, where people get treated horribly. That doesn't happen everywhere. There are places that are shitty. They're just they are.
Country, though, it really comes down to the governing bodies, because Haiti's got resources. It's got people. You know what I mean? It's got beautiful beaches. People do go vacation there.
Of
Money
course.
does come in, but where's it going? It's not going to the people that are doing the work. It's going to the people up at top.
And it's got hit by natural disasters, and it doesn't have good building codes. And I mean, it's a
Yeah, but you can't just use
the
that
country's not bad. I'm not saying the people are bad.
Japan has been attacked by Mother Nature constantly, and nuclear
And Godzilla.
But I mean, Japan has taken a pummeling just in the last 2 decades. 2 nuclear reactors, a couple big storms, and they are thriving.
But the thing with Japan, and again, I'm ignorant on this. I don't know if you've been to Japan a lot, Darcy. I know you've been to Asia a lot. I don't know if Japan's one of those places, but a country like Japan that is like a very homogenous population, where it's like everyone is from the same ethnic background, and there's this like very it's a whole different perspective on things. I mean, that Japan is a very strong society, because those people, they've put up with they've dealt with horrible things over the years, and like have survived it, things that would destroy other countries for sure.
Jason, what's your input on Japan?
Pretty much the first thing that is ever said about Japan in a conversation or society is that it's a culture of contrasts. So you can find very socialistic elements right next to very conservative elements, and that's certainly true. And taking it back to education, for example, you pretty much they don't necessarily put you on a specific course, but you'll take a test in middle school to get into high school, and that test pretty much determines the rest of your life, because
Wow.
the test that your score on that middle school test determines your particular grouping of high schools, and your high school test determines a particular grouping of universities, and then your universities determines the companies that you'll be able to get into. And yeah, it works. They also have 3 times the suicide rate.
Yeah,
That's because they got B's.
it's what level you want to look at it on. If you're looking at it from the level of like the total country society, or if you're looking at it from a level of individualism. And I mean, personally for me, I focus on individualism, right? That's where the rubber hits the road for me. I know that's not the same way for other people, but that's how I judge things. But I get societies that are more, sorry, I got to fix this, that are more like, hey, we're going to do what's best for,
Oh dear Lord, he lost his head again.
for the whole, for the whole country. I mean, there's something to be said for that. It's a continuum, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like the United States is set up on one way, other countries are set up another way. It's hard to say one's better or worse. It's like different things work. It depends on what you're looking for. But I would say,
go ahead.
I'm just saying, focusing on the individual is obviously something that humanity really desires, because people are coming here all the time looking for that from other countries that don't offer that.
It's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about it, and I'm probably the most recent in school. And back to what Jason was saying, is there anything to the idea that Japan doesn't export their people very easily? Because when I think about it in school, I don't see, and I'm pretty good at determining where somebody's from based on names, look, things like that. And I don't think I ran across maybe but one or two Japanese people in school
Not here, but in Hawaii and California, there's a lot of Japanese.
yeah, but not widespread. Like, that logistically, I get what you're saying, but that doesn't prevent people from Nigeria going to school here. We're not close to them like Hawaii is to Japan, or.
Yeah, they don't make it very easy for people to return. Even
In
in recent
Japan?
years, yeah, even in recent years, if you went to study abroad, thinking that was going to give you an advantage in the marketplace and the companies there, that's sort of backfired on those exchange students. They find it more difficult now because it is, I mean, arguably one of, if not the most homogenous populations, and their culture is so focused on being a certain way and following the rules. And companies worry that if you spend too much time abroad, then you're not going to be able to toe the line.
Wow.
So essentially,
Hell, I was watching one show. Well, it's a YouTube channel about like the way things are in Japan as far as work. Like many people will stay at work past their shift, not getting extra pay, just sitting there doing whatever because it looks good that you're at work, even though they're not necessarily doing anything. Because I've always worked in environments where I have milestones that I need to reach, and as long as I'm making those milestones, I get to go. Because if I figure a way to shorten my 8-hour day to 5 hours or 4 hours or whatever, go play golf, and then come back the next day, have another set, and do that and leave. So when I saw that, I was like, that's crazy. To me, that just seems like that's got to be miserable. Think of the time you're missing with your family and your friends, and you're just sitting there playing solitaire, pretending, to work. But as long as they see you, your manager, I'm assuming they, because I'm thinking, oh wow, they probably have these rows, of cubicles set up where you can see over, so you can immediately see who's there, and the boss probably has just this long office that he just slides back and forth. You can see how they're there.
It's even worse than that.
So like not what's the word I'm looking for? Like inefficient. Like that's just horrible.
Yeah, they don't even really have cubicles. It's just your desks are in a line, one next to each other, and another one so the person opposite you is facing you. And then like the section manager is at the end, and you don't go home until he goes home.
Oh wow!
I couldn't look at somebody that even somebody that I do care about for like 8-9 hours a day, just to have them staring at me. It made me crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Darcy, I got a quick question. When does Britney Spears come into this conversation?
I don't know. This kind of,
I already made the thumbnail.
Leave Britney alone.
Because I got like 25 non sequiturs, lined up. I'm ready to roll.
I mean, I've had this picture for the entire episode, and we've literally just said her name. Nothing bad.
We talked about crazy people.
But
Well,
no,
that's kind of where this comes in. We don't even know at this point. It sounds like she's had her life managed for a very long time.
Yeah, now I've heard of
Because of crazy.
conservatorship, but I had no idea that someone could just come in and like because because of a judge, even though you're making money, you're and just like, okay, well, this is what you're gonna get per week.
I
This is
thought
where
the
you're gonna
same.
live. This is I thought like, okay, maybe this is just because when I first heard about, her whole thing, and this was like over 10 years ago, I was thinking, oh, this is probably just something that's, it's a few months, 6 months, maybe a year, and just to get her on a good track, and then boom, she gets it all back or whatever. I was like, I had no idea. They had just stolen that girl's life. And I'm
Like, did she like give any sort of like okay to this? Like, how does that?
Well,
I'm with you. Like, how does someone just take over someone else's? She's an adult, right? She's like
yeah,
30 something now, right?
so my,
39.
yeah,
my understanding, what happened was she had some squirrely moments, for lack of a better term, and she was basically brought to court, and the way to keep from like probably neglect with the kids or something like that, and that it was kind of taken out of her hands. You can do this, or you lose your kids,
But
and I
it's
think
more. But it seems to be more than just the money. Like she can't have children. She can't live where she wants to live. This isn't just like controlling the money. This is like controlling like major life decisions. And I'm with Darcy. Like, I didn't know this was even possible. I mean, I'm shocked.
yeah, I don't know enough about it. I mean, generally with mental
That
health.
doesn't stop us from talking about it. You don't have to know anything about it, man.
No,
Just
but generally with mental health, though, the key to getting out of a hospital or getting out of these situations is to show that you're not a danger to yourself or others. Um, so probably she got into that and was like, yeah, I can show that I'm not a danger to myself or others, but the people that are judging that are probably daddy and the sister,
I
you know?
didn't really do much research, but I did look up Britney Spears. It's one T. I thought it was two T's, but it's one T. And here's one nugget I thought was interesting. So she got her start with Disney at the Mickey Mouse Club or something like Walt
Yeah.
Disney,
Right.
Disney Channel. In 1990, 91, her, Christina Aguilera,
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake, and Ryan Gosling were all like
Yeah.
part of that troupe.
Ryan Gosling lived with Justin Timberlake for a really long time.
But I mean, who's that talent agent? I mean, that's amazing. I mean, to pick
mm,
those four people like in out of 10 and what they went on to do, that's astonishing.
And I probably what, two out of those four seem like they're probably relatively happy. Ryan Gosling and Justin Timberlake, they can't seem to do anything wrong.
No.
Christina Aguilera and Britney, and then there's other ones that came out of that, like what's her name? Selena Gomez came out of that group.
But the thing is, so she was born, when was Britney Spears was born like what, like 1981 or something? I mean, she was like
yeah, some
12 years
like 1982, something like
she was
that.
like
Yeah,
12 years old, man. Like, she has never had a life outside of this industry being controlled by other people.
That's got to skew your judgment. It's got to,
It's crazy.
yeah, it's got to make for a very
She was a
bizarre
child. She was a
thought
child.
process.
She was a child.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of the child actor thing. I mean, you got to have some, but there should be significant regulation as to how it's done. You know what I mean?
So
Yes.
what are we talking about with Britney? That's just what
I just thought I'd throw that out there. I
So you said this is what
purposely,
you said the show's going to be about Britney. Don't do any research, and that's
Yeah.
what you got.
that's what I got.
Wow.
That's
I'm so glad we went off on a tangent.
Those
I
are
love
the
so So basically, we got nothing on Britney.
I'm putting Britney as one of my trigger words now.
Okay. But it's one T. It's
Yeah.
one T.
The weird thing is apparently her kids are with Kevin Federline. You know, shit's got to be bad if they're like, we feel that they're safer with him.
Yes. I'm glad you said that, because that was, yeah.
That seems a little bothersome to me, because he seems like kind of a dope. But I don't know. I don't have a lot of input on this. Maybe we should have done some research on this, Darcy, instead of being told not to.
But you know, the best shows seem to not do any research.
Yes, but,
You know, so
You'll know what the situation.
Here's the problem. We're brewing these Britney questions for like the last week on, and
I'm like, where's it going, man? I'm like,
I was
I'm
actively
my mind to be
avoiding
blown.
any research. So this wasn't us not doing research. This was misdirection by you.
Yeah.
In fact, it was almost as though you were trying to entice us to read about Britney all week.
That's the definition of totalitarianism.
One party rule. One party
It's
rule.
authoritarianism.
But so just staying on Britney for a second. So the thing that just came down, what was it? Like her dad is still in charge of everything, like all her business?
From what I last read, okay, so today, I think like two of her lawyers have decided, have asked to be released from their responsibilities for, I guess, representing her or something like that. So,
Okay.
you know,
Did they say why?
No, maybe, but I didn't finish that article. So. And I didn't want to know too much. I was like, hey, this is really interesting. I was like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, but
This happens a lot with child actors where the parents will be in charge of all the money until they get to like a certain age. And every now and then you hear where they got to go to court to get their money.
Macaulay
This is
Culkin.
dragged on like
Drew
way
Barrymore.
farther than anybody else. This is crazy.
A lot of them also go down a very dark and creepy path. Macaulay Culkin, Drew Barrymore. I know there's more. I can't.
Drew's not that bad.
She had a bad period. She
went through a weird
herself
period,
from
man.
Yeah, she had a drinking
She
period.
landed on her feet though.
It was bad enough she emancipated from her parents. You know,
I met her one time.
Did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you drink with her?
Yeah.
Cool. So tell us about it. Don't just say I met her one time.
That's a whole no. It was I was working at a theater. It was back when I was working at theaters, and she was there for a premiere.
What movie?
In the office. Everyone Says I Love You.
Oh,
Woody Allen, Edward Norton. It's back when she was dating Edward Norton. No, that was a long time ago. It's a whole different show.
Well, guys, look, I wanted to finish this whole thing out, but man, I have a raging headache.
But no, are we going to talk? Let's at least talk about, like, if we don't talk about the definitions, let's talk about the least, most corrupt, and happiest and least happy. Because I'm interested. I'm just curious. Like, that's compelling to me.
Yeah, let's do that.
So should we do it frame by frame? Each of us.
Yeah. So you start, Zeus.
All right. So my least corrupt country, I said, was Sweden. Just feels like it. And then I'll go my country with the happiest citizens. I also leaned hard on Sweden. I feel like that's the place you never hear too many bad things about. My most corrupt country, I picked three. Algeria, definitely. Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Not against Saudi Arabians, but that MSG guy, whatever his name is, the guy in charge who they said was involved in that guy getting shot at the Hungarian embassy or killed at the Hungary. He was behind that. And then I said Algeria also probably has the least happy citizens. Algeria or Yemen, they just don't seem very unchaotic, if that's a word. Next.
Well, I would say my least corrupt, and this is how you define corrupt, but my least corrupt was North Korea because there's everyone knows who's in charge. There's no corruption. Most corrupt would be the United States because it's the most corruptible, right? Because it's the freest. Happiest citizens, I had Peru, just because everyone I know that lives in Peru is freaking happy as balls. And then least happiest was Venezuela, because everyone's like eating their cats down there.
Well, that's also North Korea.
Yeah, but it's how you define corrupt. Like, it's not corrupt because everyone kind of knows what the deal is. There's no corruption. Everything's pretty pure, right?
When there's shortages of everything, there's going to be corruption, I think.
But I'm just living here, dude. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough.
Just my guess. Okay, who's next?
I got least corrupt. I picked Switzerland just because they're kind of neutral. They should be nice and uncorrupted. Russia is my most corrupt. Any nation that's kind of ransomwaring everybody else around the world, that's pretty bad. Happiest was a tough choice. I don't know. I picked Nepal because I was thinking, the monks and that sort of thing up in the mountains. They're pretty happy. Least happy, I had North Korea. I was also thinking First Nations people. They're pretty miserable. All the Native Americans, if you consider that a nation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called First Nation. So yeah,
First Nation. Yeah, there's a lot of drinking and they're poor and all that. So,
all right.
So me, I was thinking least corrupt country, Sweden.
What?
Wow.
Oh, this is corrupt. You guys were colluding.
Most corrupt country, Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
Because of all the
solid one.
scams and stuff, right? Country with the happiest citizens, Sweden.
That's funny.
What?
Do you guys really know anything about Sweden, or we just?
I know nothing. I just know
I
about
don't know
the
anything.
Swedish bikini team. Like, I mean, I guess that makes people happy.
They make meatballs and IKEA furniture. So.
Country with the least happiest citizens, UAE. So
Wow,
United
really?
Arab Emirates. Yeah, because I think there's a small part of their population, which is what we see, where they're super wealthy and they're doing anything you could imagine. They have M16s they can shoot in the air, out of their Lamborghinis, and but most of the people, that's not how they live.
That's not how they roll.
Right. So I was thinking having that huge contrast would probably lead to people, feeling pretty like, but they're not represented. They're not seen. They're not too many YouTubers, lower class YouTubers. I don't think, because who's going to subscribe to that? You want to watch the guy that's getting a car every other week.
The opulence channel.
Did you have any, Jason? I know you came in later. Like least, most corrupt, happiest, least happiest.
Yeah, I've been trying. I think your reimagination or redefinition of corruption has sort of influenced what I was thinking, and I think I would go with least corrupt being Singapore, because it both has that sort of political authoritarianism, but everyone follows the rules.
Right.
If you don't, they will beat the hell out of you.
With the cane, right?
Most corrupt country.
I was tending towards Russia, but I think I'd still go with China, just because of personal experience, knowing how much money talks there at every level, whether it's politics, hospital, everywhere.
What about country with happiest citizens?
The Dutch seem pretty happy.
The Dutch.
The Dutch?
Why not?
I don't know. Clogs
You
and
don't hear
red
anything bad about the Dutch?
Least. North Korea.
Yeah, they seem pretty unhappy. So Darcy, so sorry you got a headache. I do have to say the last cicada update, they're all gone.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
cicadas
they're
are gone.
gone. I see ghost ones. What they're the ones that like they're still intact and they look perfectly, like, oh my God,
Exactly.
it's still, but then you're like,
And then it doesn't move. Yeah.
it's yeah.
I've done that. I was like, oh, there's one still here. And then
I just see their
Yeah.
wings occasionally. I'll see a wing here and there.
It's sad, man, because they're not going to be back for 17 years, right?
That's
Oh
not-
yeah, oh
I'll be
yeah. I'm gonna
back
be
in
so
Virginia
sad.
next year. There's a
yeah,
group.
but not like this.
Not like this.
Oh, well, it depends where you live.
No.
Yeah.
This is the big one.
Brood
Every
X.
17
You
years.
could
there's a
have
huge.
if they're coming up out of your yard. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like every 17 years there's like a swarm of it's like nothing touches it until that 17-year time comes around. Weren't you here
Some
for the
people didn't
last one?
see anything.
I'm
Really?
sorry?
Who didn't see
Some
anything?
people didn't see anything at all. Yeah. Depends where you live.
And was it everywhere in the US or is it just Virginia? That's what
No,
I
no,
never-
it's just the Mid-Atlantic area.
Okay,
That's it.
that's
No, it
interesting.
wasn't everywhere. And even around here, like in parts of Maryland and DC, they didn't see
Yeah,
anything.
places that are concreted over,
Yeah.
tarred and concreted over.
Yeah, you probably didn't see it in DC at all, yeah. But Annandale, they were everywhere. McLean, I'm sure they were horrible. What about you over in Arlington?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I never had to really deal with it because remember I spent 3 weeks in Florida.
And he
I
had
got the
someone
phone calls.
shoveling them up.
I got
and
the
scooping
phone
them
calls
up.
from Rebecca. Oh my God, it's horrible. They're dead. They're all down in the well at the because we have this. You walk down into our basement, and when it would rain, I guess they would just wash off the lawn and right down in there. And I had this manhole that I made where I had these. I had like the screen or whatever, and that all. They were just down there. She's like, it's like a soup. This is disgusting. And she's like, but I have to get this out of here so the sump pump can get this water out of here.
Why do you call it a
like
manhole? Why do you call it a manhole, Darcy? Why don't you
Because
be more inclusive? It should be a person hole.
Person hole.
So tired of inclusiveness.
Yeah, we didn't even get to our words and phrases that bother us.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to do that. I'm doing all I can to hold it together.
Well, we appreciate that. And next week is Jack, right? I think Jack's
If he's still alive.
If he's still alive. If not, then it's Jason. And after the eulogy for Jack.
That Jason's show will be a eulogy for Jack.
Yeah. If Jack is not here.
And Dana and I were talking about doing kind of a side episode, just kind of talking about the state of like kindness in the world. And
I'm up for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we can.
When would that happen?
Huh?
When would that be?
Not sure. I'm waiting for it to fit in her schedule. I'm pretty free 4 days of the week usually right now, so I'm pretty open. It'll be. I'll let you know. I'll keep everybody in tune.
All right, are we ready to stop recording?
All right, boys.
All right. What does Jack say?
All right, boys.
All right, boys.
All right, boys.
Such a nerd.